Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where I aim to help and solve your tech-related problems. So if you've got one, make sure you leave it down there in the comment section below. If not, well, leave it on social media using the hashtag AskGCNTech. But as ever, let's crack on with the first question this week. And it comes in from Dennis Flacker. Now, Dennis says, "Hi John, I would like to change all of my group set from Ultegra Di2 for the new Dura-Ace Di2 9150. Do I need to change the wires, or can I just replace the components?" Dennis, good news here. All Di2 group sets are totally compatible other than the first ever one, which was the 7970, because that group set, the 7970, used a 5-wire connecting cable system, as opposed to the new setups that all use a 2-wire control area network cable. So you're, well, ready and willing to go, really, and just upgrade all those components without having to change the wires, importantly, particularly if you've got internal cables, which can sometimes be a little bit fiddly. Next up is John Park. Now, John Park has a question which I'm going to shorten down a little bit. He wants to know, can he use mountain bike group sets disc brake calipers with road bike brake levers, all hydraulic? Yes, you can, John, because, well, they're all cross-compatible. There's a little bit of a pun there because they all use mineral oil to actually control the system. And in fact, Mathieu van der Poel, the cyclocross sensation, he used to use XTR disc brake calipers with road brake levers. So yeah, it works absolutely fine. It's good enough for Mathieu van der Poel. It's good enough for you, John. Go ahead and try it. Right, next up we've got Mike Davies, who's from Australia, a place I love because I've just come back from there. Right, anyway, Mike wants to know, he's got a question. On his bike he's running Ultegra 8070 Di2 and he's looking to replace the disc rotors and has a couple of questions. Firstly, will the Dura-Ace SM RT900 rotors be compatible with the Ultegra 8070 calipers? And secondly, the bike comes with a 160mm rotor on the front and rear, and where he lives is not very mountainous and wants to know, should he use a 140 on the rear? He believes it's as simple as just removing a spacer on the rear hydraulic disc brake. Right, firstly, those rotors will work fine with the calipers, no problems there. As for the 160 and 140 conundrum that you're talking about, that is probably what most people are opting for these days. In an ideal world, 90% of your braking is going to come from the front brake lever, so a 160mm rotor is going to give you adequate stopping power on a road bike, I think, especially as you're not in a mountainous area, like you say. As for having a 140 on the rear, that's not a problem either. In most cases, all you're going to have to do is just get yourself a slightly smaller rotor, and then where the caliper mounts onto the frame, either you're going to have a shim on there or a spacer which can be reversed or rotated in order to get that caliper slightly further around to work with the 140mm rotor, or alternatively there's just a different spacer you're going to use. If you're unsure, pop along to your local shop, they'll be able to help you out, but a 160 front, 140 rear, that's what all the pros are going for, and well, Mike, well, be like a pro. Okay, next up we've got the Schotten Zengin, or maybe the Schotten Zengin. Not quite sure how to pronunciate that one, but well, I gave it a go. Anyway, they've got themselves, or about to get themselves, a new carbon road bike from the internet. Nothing like a new bike day, is there? Anyway, they want to know, what sort of precautions should they be taking care of? So, should they be using grease or no grease, special carbon paste, that's for the seat post, and also the bike comes with Mavic tubeless wheels, not carbon, and also tubeless tyres, but they've got an inner tube installed. Is it okay to run such a setup without going tubeless? Thanks from Eddie in Osaka, Japan. Love it out there. Right, so personally, I would use carbon paste with your seat post where it goes into the frame, and also get yourself a torque wrench. That's probably the best bit of advice I can give, because carbon components are, well, a little bit fragile, I guess, in the wrong hands, so make sure you don't over tighten any of those bolts. Moving on though to the actual tubeless tyres and wheels with the inner tubes fitted. Yeah, you can run that. In fact, a few people, if they are out riding and they get a big slice in a tubeless tyre, it's beyond repair and they can't get home, well, the way they get home is by putting an inner tube inside. But alternatively, why not remove that inner tube and actually run it and unleash the tubeless benefits to their maximum? Give it a go. Let us know how you get on with that one, Eddie, and enjoy that new bike. And well, invite me back out to Japan because I loved it. Next up is Harry Look. Now, Harry says they bought themselves a gold chain. Welcome to the club, Harry. Love a gold chain. But it needed cleaning. And well, they decided to actually remove it via the quick link and submerge it for 10 minutes in some degreaser. Well, after doing that, apparently Harry's chain is super noisy and rough. I'm afraid to ride with it. Did I destroy my new chain? Right then, Harry. Oh, well, you've taken it off, you've submerged it, so of course you're probably likely to have washed out every single little bit of lubricant from within the rollers and the pins. So what you're going to have to do, well, it sounds like you've already refitted it onto the bike, possibly not lubricated it quite enough. So go around each and every single roller and pin of that chain, start at the quick link so you know where you've started, apply a couple of drops from a little bottle of lubricant with a nozzle on it, because I find that really easy to apply. Once you've gone around the whole chain, simply start bending and flexing those chain links to try and work all that lubricant inside of the chain, wipe away any excess, back pedal, see if that makes any difference. If not, apply a couple more drops of lubricant, of course, removing any excess, and you should be good to go there. Because when you submerge that chain in the bath of degreaser, essentially you've washed out all of the lube. Next up is Andrew Howard. Now, Andrew is looking to swap out the chain rings on their cranks from 5236 to 5034. Andrew wants to know though, will they need to lower the front MEC to accommodate the reduction in diameter of the new outer chain ring? Right, Andrew, in order to get the best possible shifting, then yeah, I would certainly recommend it because, well, we all strive for perfection, don't we? So once you've fitted on those chain rings, simply drop that front derailleur down a very small amount. You want the derailleur cage to be about 1 to 3 millimeters higher than the outer chain ring. It's pretty important to get that. Too low, obviously, and well, you're not going to be able to change gear, and too high, you're not going to be able to change gear either. So make sure you do that. And it's worth keeping an eye too, because you are also going to want to, if you're using cable operated gears, so a traditional mechanical setup, you are going to also want to pull through the cable a little bit and re-clamp it up, because once you drop it, cable tension will be affected there too. Right, next up is Mr. Sparky Aprilia. Sounds like they've got themselves a fancy motorbike. Anyway, Mr. Sparky says, John, are you able to run a compact 34 tooth inner ring and a semi or standard 52-53 outer chain ring? Lots of steep climbs around Torbay and up on Dartmoor, so the compact chain set is useful, but I find myself sometimes spinning out on the flats. Right then, providing you've got yourself a suitable chain set, then yes, there is a solution for you. It comes from a company called Wickworks, who make some chain rings that will work absolutely fine. So they run a 34, and I think it's a 53 outer there. So you're going to be certainly catered for on the steep climbs with a 34 inner ring, and a 53 outer ring. Well, you're not going to be spinning on the flat with that, I don't reckon. And also, I'm pretty sure I did read on Wickworks' website that they reckon the shifting performance is just as good as a standard 3953, for instance. And obviously, it's quite a big gap, so that is good to see. Right, next up, we've got Nick Edmondson. Nick says that he loves the show. Be grateful for some guidance. They've got an FSA crankset at the moment with Shimano front and rear derailleurs. Bottom bracket is square taper. The left crank arm threads to the pedal connection have sheared, so that's the pedal thread. They can't find a replacement arm the correct length and with a square taper. Is it possible to fix the thread, or would I advise to buy a new crank? If so, do I have to go for Sora, or would Tiagra work too? And also, would I need to change the bottom bracket? Right, let's tackle these one by one. First up, I would have a look on something like eBay, for instance, to try and find a replacement chain set. It's likely to be sold in a pair. But if you can get one at a bargain price where you're going to have a spare right-hand crank, but you're going to have a decent left-hand crank, do that. Alternatively, you could possibly save that crank that you've already got, because you could drill out the ruined thread, I guess I can call that, and you then insert a helicoil into that, which is bonded in place, and then you can simply thread your pedal back in. However, that sort of thing might not be that suitable for yourself. I don't know quite your mechanical skills, but a local bike shop will be able to help you out. And then the last option, yeah, you could well fit a Sora or a Tiagra chain set on there. Both are going to work absolutely fine with what you've got on the bike currently. You are likely, though, to get an oversized bottom bracket axle, which is built into the chain set, which means a different bottom bracket too, but you are going to save quite a bit of weight over a square taper bottom bracket. Those are your options, I reckon, so the choice is up to you. Penultimate question this week comes in from Patrick Kelly. Now, Patrick has just bought a 10-speed Ultegra Di2 group set, but they noticed the junction box is different to the one on the Ultegra R8000. How do I charge this old 10-speed Di2? Right, Patrick, sounds to me like you've got the old A junction box there, as opposed to the one that goes in the end of the handlebar or inserted into a frame. But how are you going to charge it up then? Well, have a look at it, and you're going to see a couple of white lines or a couple of kind of greyish lines on there, and those are your charging indicators or battery indicator. On the other side, so laterally wise, have a look, and there's a tiny little flap there. and you're going to need a sharp nail or a little pick, something like that, and you can open up that flap, and that is your charging port. Go ahead, put the charger in there and recharge that battery. And the final question comes in from Jacques Swart, who says they've been considering upgrading the bottom bracket on their bike with a Shimano SM BB-R60. According to the online specs, the bike should be fitted with a BB-RS 500, so compatibility should be fine, according to Shimano. However, when they checked the actual bottom bracket in the bike, they found out it was fitted with a mountain bike model. The question is therefore twofold. Why would a mountain bike bottom bracket be fitted to a road bike? And also, is it worth upgrading the bottom bracket to the SM BR60 if it's compatible? The Shimano chart doesn't show it. Right. Bottom bracket, first up, is going to be totally compatible because they all use 24mm inner diameter for the spindle of the crank, which is essentially your bottom bracket axle. As for why is it fitted with a mountain bike bottom bracket, I don't know. I wasn't in the factory installing it, but generally, those bottom brackets are all very similar with one another. The only difference comes from possibly the seals. They could have some extra seals on there to prevent mud and water getting in. It's very common to find these on mountain bikes and cyclocross bikes. There's little upgrades that people do. But the real difference is certainly the plastic inner liner, which separates the two screw-in cups. It doesn't actually do anything structurally. It simply prevents water from getting in and ruining the inside of the bearings there. So it is going to work absolutely fine with a mountain bike bottom bracket on there. I guess the only difference is a possible extra resistance from having extra seals or thicker grease inside of the bearings. Is it worth upgrading? I wouldn't do it unless you really need to do it, because it's very unlikely you are going to notice those differences. The time when I would think about doing it is if I was going for a record attempt or something like that and you wanted to squeeze out every little watt from your leg into the drivetrain. Right, I hope that I've been able to help answer your question this week on the GCN Tech Clinic. Remember, if you've got a question, down there, comment section, leave them. And also remember to like and share this video with your friends too. And don't forget also to check out the GCN shop at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. We've got a whole heap of goodies for you to spend your pocket money on, or, well, maybe get someone a gift, who knows. Now, for another great video, how about clicking just down here?